Hello and welcome to another edition of My Movember Menu. This is our second episode now. It's the 12th of November, or that's when we're filming this at least. I don't know when this will be up on the interwebs for you to see. But as you can see, the Movember moustache is going very well indeed. Anyhow, what are we going to be cooking today? Today we will be making beef in red wine. A very simple but very wonderful dish indeed. And of course, two of the main ingredients we have with us on the table already. We have a bottle of wine. This is, try and get this in front of the camera, a bottle of Malbec. It's from South Africa and it cost me £6 from a shop that begins with T and ends in Esco's. We also have some butcher's fresh beef. This is 750 grams of chopped stewing steak. And we'll be chucking that in with an assortment of vegetables, including the leftover celery from the bolognese episode, and leaving that to cook away through the afternoon. So the first ingredient going into the pan alongside our beef is going to be our brown onions. Now, we've just got to get them cut. So we've put our chopped onions and our beef in our pan with a little bit of oil, and what we're going to do is we're going to glaze the onions and just brown the beef off, and then what we'll do is we'll transfer it to the slow cooker. So while our beef and our onions start to cook down, we'll start preparing our next ingredients. So that'll be our celery, the spring onions, the carrot, and the pepper. So the beef and onions are now browned off slightly and just starting to cook through. We'll take them off the heat and we'll pop them into the slow cooker. And while our vegetables just sizzle away and simmer in the pan, we're going to take our quartered mushrooms, which I've just quartered, and we're going to pop them into the slow cooker. And of course, one of the most important ingredients in doing beef and red wine is the red wine. Like I said, this is a Malbec from the Western Cape of South Africa. You can see it there on the bottle. And like I said, I got it from a supermarket that begins with T and ends in Esco's. It cost me £6. Doesn't have to be expensive. It's really nice wine, and it will go perfectly with the beef. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in about a large glassful, perhaps a little more. So roughly that much of a bottle, perhaps a bit more still. There we go, about a third of a bottle. Seasoning for this dish comes in the form of garlic. We're going to take just 1 clove from that bowl. Some bay leaves, we're going to drop those in along with a bit of parsley. To add an extra lump of beefy flavour, we're going to just chuck in a teaspoon of bovril and, for good measure, 1 OXO cube. There we go. So that's all we're going to really use for seasoning, and a little bit of salt and pepper just to taste. So now we have all of our vegetables and meat folded into the wine with a squirt of tomato puree. We're going to simply leave that for 6-7 hours. I'm just going to leave that on high on my slow cooker. Obviously, if you're doing this in a normal pan, you just keep everything in the same pan, keep it stirring as the sauce reduces a little bit. And obviously you've got to wait for the alcohol to sort of come out of the wine, otherwise you don't want to get slightly tipsy off dinner. But there we go. Going to leave that in the slow cooker for about 6-7 hours, come back to it and have some dinner later on. So we are back in the kitchen. The slow cooker behind me has been bubbling away quite nicely for 8 hours now. I sort of overran in the studio, we'll ignore that. And the beef and the red wine have been melding together perfectly in a flavourful harmony. The question is, what are we going to serve as our side dishes? Well, a brilliant side dish that goes really well with beef and red wine is mashed potato. Here is an potato, and I've got a brilliant trick for doing really nice mashed potato. And what you will need is 1 peeled and finely chopped potato, and in true Blue Peter style, here's some I made earlier. And this is just finely chopped mashed potato, and what we're going to do is going to boil that in salted water and wait until it just goes soft. Then the magic happens. Okay, so now our potatoes have boiled through and they are just turning soft, which is where we want them. So we've taken them off the heat and we're just going to quickly strain them out. And now, my key to making really rich, creamy mashed potato is to not only add a dollop of butter, but to equally, that's probably backwards for you, isn't it? I don't know. Is that backwards? I don't know. Dollop of butter, but equally a splash of milk. So, 1 potato masher. Butter. And the milk. Trick is always add a lot less milk than you think, otherwise you end up making it too milky, you end up with this sort of mushy puddle of potatoey milk, which is not what you want. What you want is creamy potato. And then it's simply a case of just mashing it up. The consistency of the potato you'll be looking for is something almost like cake batter. You could almost sort of whip it into a fine peak. That's roughly what you're starting to look for. So we'll leave that on a very low hob just to stay warm, and we will grab, courtesy of Chef Mike, some kale. And once you've created your Desperate Dan style pile of mashed potato, it's finally time to dish out the beef in red wine. Trusty ladle. And now it's time to find out how this tastes. Hopefully it will taste very good, because I'm A, very hungry, B, have been waiting for this for over 8 hours, and C, well, it smells fantastic. So where the beef has been sitting for so long in the red wine and a little bit of tomato puree, it's now just breaking down. You can almost sort of just mash it under your fork. It is so soft, and it still carries with it a lovely beefy flavour, but it is gently touched upon with the flavour of the vegetables. You get a little bit of the sweetness from the carrot in there, but you equally get this lovely fruity punch from the wine. And of course the mashed potato is very, very delicious. And speaking of the wine, wouldn't really be a proper dinner without a glass, would it? Cheers.